lounging, son.
All right, welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and with me today I have another member from the Cartoonist Kayfabe ringside seats. That's how I know you, Sam Locke Ward, another dope indie cartoonist that I have discovered during the dark times, which were 2020. Welcome, dude.
Hi, how's it going?
I saw your work, and I have a new goal that I want to do with my channel, and it's to interview as many people from this group that are cartoonists like yourself as because I want to shed some light on your work, on others' work, because I feel like unless you're in this group, the chances are you may not see some of these people's work. And I love all of it. I want to promote it. I want to support it. So I feel like if I can get a few people headed your way, because they come to my channel for whatever other interviews or reviews or whatever other content I'm putting out. So
Cool.
I really thank you for taking the time out. I know we've been trying to set this up for, I don't know, it feels like at least 3 months. But yeah, I want you, if you could real quick, to share a little bit about yourself for people that aren't familiar with you or your work, you know, how your love of comics started, why you decided to start producing your own stuff.
Yeah, I do. My name's Sam Locke Ward, and I do zines. I make the zine 93. I made the zine 93 Grind Out, Voyage into Misery. I'm currently working on one called Night Bat.
Yes.
I do some newspaper strips, Feudal Wrath, just for the local arts paper in Iowa City. I live in Iowa City, Iowa.
And how did your love for comics? How did it start? What were some of like the comic books that like you first got into when you were a kid, and then in turn, was there anything that like, or any creator that made you like, I want to do this myself, I want to create my own art too?
Well, I feel like I'm first and foremost a fan of comics, more than a creator, just because I've read comics ever since I was a little kid. I remember first.
You're a creator, bro. Look at all this work you've produced. This is like all this year too. It's crazy. I mean, you're a creator. You're a fan, but you are also a working cartoonist. I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I got into I think like a lot of people my age. I'm like nearly 40. I got into comics through the newsstands at like the drugstore. That had been like my first exposure to comics. I remember getting like Norm Brayfogle, Batman.
Yes. Like
in the late 80s.
Okay.
And of course, I liked Image Comics a lot as a kid, and all those X-Men books. And then as I became as a teenager, I started getting into indie books and, you know, your Harvey Pekar, kind of more out there indie guys.
Yeah, see, I was a little bit late to the party. I mean, my brother, what he said to me for my birthday this year, at least you're closer to 30 than you are to 40 is what he told me.
Right.
I'm 34. I was starting my comics at around 5 or 6, but like Image was just starting in 92, and I was born in 87. So I wasn't there at the beginning. I kind of got whatever my mom would get me. Like, it was way more available when we were growing up, even, you know, like it was everywhere. Like you said, drugstores, right? Newsstands, grocery stores, which I think is something I kind of miss and I think would be beneficial to the comic book industry as a whole, kind of, right? Because like not everybody has a comic store that's close to them. And it's not like having it in these other locations is going to take away from a comic book store. You know what I mean? It's just going to, like, when people start getting sick of like, man, I can't find the next issue, where do they go? Comic book store.
Yeah, totally. It's hard though. I can see both sides of it. But you know, when you're talking about getting more comics in places, it's going to just be Marvel and DC comics. It's not going to be like, you know, some zines.
No, I got you. But I'm saying more in terms of getting new readership.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because like a kid's not going to go pick up fucking the next issue of Criminal or any type of indie book, right? Like a little kid, a mom's going to want to buy, here's a superhero book, here, pick this up. And that's how I think a lot of us started anyway, was we read superhero comics, and as
Right.
you just said it, you grew up and you started getting more of the Image stuff, and then RVP cards, stuff like that. So that's more of what I was saying in terms of like having it in other locations, right?
Right. I think like if you actually look at like what the biggest comics sold are, like of like the last 10 years, it's actually like those kids comics in like
Yeah,
Scholastic, like Captain Underpants.
right. Raina
And so I
Telgemeier's
actually
books.
I feel like kids do love comics still. They just like don't like superhero stuff. Like I tried to watch like some of that Zack Snyder Batman or whatever
Yeah, I haven't
thing.
seen it.
My kids like, like to them it was like, when I was a kid and they'd like the old people put on the westerns and it was like a room for, it was like that.
All
Like,
right.
you put on they recognize like superheroes as like kind of old guy stuff, I think.
Okay. It's an interesting perspective. I never thought of it that way, because like I wouldn't say it forced upon my daughter the superhero stuff. She loves all
Uh-huh.
the movies. DC she doesn't really like, probably because the movies aren't that good. But yeah, like I try to get her into comics, and she's not having it. But maybe it's because she's also at that age. I don't know. For me, I started liking comics at a young age, so, and I know that a lot of that was because of stuff like it being easy to see in a store at the grocery store with my mom, and like I pick it up and I look at it and like, oh, buy me this,
Right.
But I'm going off topic. Let's talk about your stuff. So, like you were saying, you have a lot of different projects that you've sent me. Voyage into Misery. You got Helltown and Other Stories. You got the Mangler Brew, Nightbat, 93 Grind Out. Let's talk some of the projects and some of kind of the idea behind them. I think 93 Grind Out is pretty self-explanatory, but I would love to hear your thoughts like on why that book and like and the inspiration behind it.
Yeah, 93 Grind Out. I was actually when 2020, when the global pandemic, you may have heard of it, started.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had zero initiative to do anything. I had like the worst writer's block I ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And for like the first half of 2020, I produced nothing. And then I kind of had like this grand epiphany where I was thinking about like the kind of things that inspired me when I was younger, and like the kinds of comics I liked when I was a kid, and the kind of comic I wanted to make when I was a kid. Like everybody has that comic they would have made.
Yeah.
And so actually that's what Grind Out is. Grind Out is like the comic I would have made if I could have made one when I was 10. Of course, there's no way I would have sat and made one
right
when I was 10. And the one I wanted to make would have been like, 300 issues long. And I know there's no way right now that I would do that. So I condensed the entire thing that I wanted to do when I was a kid into like this short story and just tried to knock it out as fast as humanly possible.
It's so much fun, dude. It's such a fun book. And your crosshatching, phenomenal.
Yeah, I tried to do like there's like all these things that like you read about like when you're doing comics that you're not supposed to do, and like crosshatching is like one of them. Like there's like a really anti-crosshatching movement. I was like, I'm just gonna crosshatch, and then I was like, and they're gonna cuss, and everybody's gonna die. And that was like how I did 93 Grind Out. Was I just kind of leaned into all the stuff, all the habits I tried to not let myself indulge in past comics I'd made. I tried to double down on in 93 Grind Out.
Like I said, it's a really cool project. Like I think I saw the cover to number 1 in the group. I think you might have had a couple pages. I'm flipping through it right now, and I'm like, dude, this is fucking dope. And I think I must have I didn't even wait. Sometimes like I'll save a post so that I don't forget to do it later. But I reached out to you immediately. It was like right up my alley. it had like the old 90s like Image vibe to it. You know what I mean? And like stuff from that time period. Like that, at least that's what I took from it. I don't know. Maybe that's just me projecting.
Yeah, totally. Like, and I loved those Image comics, and I still think they're great.
I mean, same.
I think Savage Dragon's like one of the great comic achievements in the history of the medium.
Dude,
You know,
I love that you just said that. Savage Dragon's one of my favorite books. I think
I know he's like sneakily coming up on like Dave Sims' like record of like writing and drawing 300 issues.
Yeah.
And I know there's like a handful of guys who are doing it, but Savage Dragon seems the most wowing to me personally.
Dude, I love the series. I mean, like the problem for me has always been like if I didn't have a pull list, and I haven't always had a pull list, and some stores don't necessarily carry it unless you're sub to it. So like I have like all these like major gaps, and not to mention the fact that like by the time I started reading Savage Dragon, when I found it, I like and I wanted to collect it, it had already been out for like at least 50 issues. Was when like I'm like, you know what, I want to get all of them, because I'd have like little like random ones. Like I had the Ninja Turtle crossover one, right? I had the issue 2 when ongoing. I had the mini series, and so now it's like, and it's a pain in the ass trying to find them, because they are like such low print runs that, especially like some of the past few years, but I say past 10, right? Like they all go for money, and I just and I just want it for me, man. Like I'm not trying to get it because I think it's worth money. I'm like, no, I want a complete Savage Dragon run, and like I don't think people understand. Like, dude, this guy has been grinding it out, like you said. Oh, like issue 258 comes out this week, as of the week we're talking. That's insane, dude. And he does it all himself. He even like the fact that he didn't want to have a gap and redrew issue 13 because he didn't want it to be the Jim Lee issue. Like, dude, come on. And he only
right. It's great. I feel like it right now is like as great as it's ever been too. Like there's like a chunk like from like I'd say like 145 through like 175 where I thought it was like had peaked. That was like the best it was ever going to be. And I feel like right now is as good or not, if not better than that run.
Yeah, I think that is 145. Is that the Obama issue?
It might
around
be.
there?
It's the back in blue.
Okay, so yeah, see, that's where like I have the gap, and like that's where I have like a couple issues sporadic throughout there, because that was one of the that I would go to the shop all the time, but like I wouldn't necessarily get there on a Wednesday, and that's besides the point. But yeah, I totally agree. Savage Dragon is so good. I feel like, and I'm not trying to be morbid, but for some reason I feel like Erik Larsen's going to draw it until the day he dies, and we may not get a conclusion to the book. That's how I feel. I feel like he will keep going until he can't anymore. So some of the other projects you sent me that I really dug, and they're not just, I mean, you also work with Josh Mead on some of these, on Voyage into Misery. I got this on other stories. I haven't read Helltown yet.
Helltown is Josh solo.
Yeah, I haven't cracked that one open yet, because you sent me, I think, like 3 more, not that like some of the newest ones. But I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about those, you know, what it's like, because 93 Grindout's all you, right?
Yeah, 93 Grindout's all me. I do Voyage into Misery with Josh. And Voyage into Misery started out as an anthology book. So we'd have a Human Coil story in each issue, and then a Mangler Brew story, and then I do a bunch of other like shorts and backups in the back of it. And so the first 3 issues were all like annual sized, but it was hard to keep. It gets like with zines, it's hard to keep everything in print. But it's kind of on my goal list this year is to dabble in printing trades. I've never done that before, and so that's something I'm looking to do. So like Voyage into Misery, the A story that goes through it is the Human Coil, which is the collab with Josh Mead, and that's like the faux Ditko, where he's like the antithesis of the Mr. A question type sleuth, but instead of being a, you know, Randian right wing knee breaker. He's a hedonist fuckhead.
All your work is just it's definitely like like the kayfabe guys, they say outlaw. I definitely think this falls in line with outlaw comics in my opinion. Like you don't hold punches, you get violent, you get it's everything that I love in comics is in these zines, and I love it. I think before this year I didn't have any comics in this form because like the kayfabe group and the kayfabe channel is what got me into some of this stuff because like I knew of Cartoonist kayfabe before I joined the group. I helped Eli edit some of the Wizard zine, the first issue, and I was like, what's this about? And so like that's how I really like immersed myself in this group, and because of it, like I have so many self-published works, so many zines, so many different formats and stuff that it's like a format I didn't know that I'd love, but I love it. And I think that it's cool because like you make all these yourself. You deal with producing them and then putting them together and shipping them out to everybody.
Oh yeah, every issue that of a comic that I put out, I hand put together, I hand assemble, I staple them, I put them in the envelope. I do every part of it. I used to tape the masters together and do it all at a copy store, state of the art, like of the late 80s. Yeah, and I like doing it that way. It's great. It's and not just as comics, but zines are like truly like the most blue collar format you could put out print media in, because literally anyone can do that. And if I can ever convey to anyone one thing, it's really, if you feel like you want to do zines or comics, you should just do it. There's nothing to hold anyone back. Like all that, like there's gatekeeping shit, it's all an illusion. You can really just go to a copy store, put your own books together, ship them out, carry them, sell them out of your backpack, give them to your buddies. Any level that you want to do it, you can do it. It doesn't have to be a thing where you have to go through someone else's system or anything like that. Yeah, make zines.
Yeah, dude.
Totally
I mean, if I could fucking draw, I mean, like it inspires me to want to like force myself to learn how to draw because like I used to love it as a kid. Like I had like sketchbooks and stuff, and I would look at a draw or a picture and I would recreate it. I wouldn't trace it, but I would look and like do it myself. But somewhere along the line, I just stopped. But like it's creators like yourself that really, I'm like, dude, I gotta just fucking do it. I gotta do something like any type of zine, even if it's like,
oh yeah, do it. You can do anything. Like
Yeah.
you could have like, just articles or like lists of things you like or pictures you took. A zine can be anything. Yeah, no, like literally, like before I came here, I like realized that I had somebody order something and I didn't have it. Like I'd run out. I was like, oh shit, I don't have this book and somebody wants it. And so I was like literally like at the grocery store making copies before I came home and did this Zoom hangout. But yeah, that's like, is like, oh shit, I need a handful more copies of the Voyage into Misery Winter Special because I didn't realize I'd run out. But yeah, it's really anybody can do it, and I wholeheartedly endorse anyone who is interested in zines to watch out for when things get going again. There's always zine fests in all the towns, and there's like every town has a zine fest, and they're always so cool. And it's not just comics; it's like people's poetry and art. And
that's dope.
I don't know. I've been really wanting to do a zine that's all just reviews of Charles Bronson movies. And not like comics at all, just straight up a Charles Bronson zine, because I've been going through those movies and they're all just so insane, like weird right-wing diatribes about like like a weird stereotype of a liberal guy who gets mugged and then like has to take everybody out through violence. They're great.
Dude, that's dope. That's a good idea. I mean, like I have a few ideas myself. I don't know that I could draw them. Like it because what I would want to do would just be like single like images of this specific person and then like the quotes or whatever or sayings that they said on each page. It was just an idea, like a fleeting thought that I had. But
oh, just lean into it. My first comic I did, like I started like I went through like a long time of being discouraged. Like I'd make a few little things here and there, but it wasn't until like 2015 I had this grand epiphany where I was like, I'm gonna make a comic, and I know I'm not any good at drawing, but I'm gonna lean into it. And if I can't be good, I can at least be fast. And so I was just like, I did one issue a month. I did this comic called Beasts of Heaven. It's like super out of print. But every month I made one and I'd print it up. And it starts out bad and it ends a little less bad. But every month I do it and it was 20 pages. And I'd look at it and I wouldn't let myself fix anything. But the point was, you do it fast. You take note of what you did wrong. You take note of what you wish you did better and try to just move on and embrace being a bad artist. That's always, because everybody thinks they're a bad artist, but to really lean into it and be like, yeah, I'm a bad artist. That's the most freeing thing of all.
dude, I love that. That's I mean you're fucking dropping some choice advice right here, dude. I'm loving it.
Well, that's like philosophy of ego stuff. Like I play music and I've played music for a long time. And eventually you have like this grand epiphany of like, why do I play music? And then you start looking at everybody else and why do they play music? And why do people play live? Why does anyone have to hear your albums after you make it? Why do you have to show people your art after you draw it? Not that I have any great answers.
I do want to talk about a couple of the newer ones that you sent me. Mangler Brew and Nightbat. Nightbat was phenomenal. I love Mangler Brew, but I'm digging Nightbat. Can you talk a little bit about, like, these are numbered as number ones. So is this going to be a new series that you're...
Nightbat, I'm going to try to do monthly for a while.
Okay.
At least 3 issues. We'll see how I feel after 3 issues. I have 3 issues planned,
Okay.
and then we'll see if I'm still having fun doing Nightbat at 3 issues, because I can do whatever I want. But I'm going to at least do 3 or 4. And yeah, Nightbat was just, I wanted to do, because like right at the end of doing Grind Out, you just start fantasizing about when you're about to finish a project, you just start fantasizing about other projects, and you start fantasizing about ways to procrastinate.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, I finished that one. I was like, my Tourette's was, I wanted to make Nightbat and do a vigilante with a bat. And I had like three different books I was thinking about doing, and I was stuck with Nightbat. But yeah, he's just a guy with a bat. It's fascist.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome, dude. I'm telling you, man. I'm really digging this stuff you're putting out. It's really fucking awesome. And I mean, you're a machine, dude. You pump these out so fast. Like you're sending me one, and then I'm seeing like, oh, I got another one coming out, and it's like it's crazy. Like I have so much of your work, and that's not a bad thing, and it's all in a short period of time. So what else do you have coming up? Do you have any other ideas that you are thinking about doing?
Well, right now I'm just doing Nightbat, seeing Nightbat through. It takes a long time to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And really I feel like I had a friend who told me once, like one of the main goals of drawing a comic should be to try to draw it fast, because people are going to read them fast. And you can get bogged down in doing nothing, whether it's comics or music or even, household chores. It's really easy to do nothing, or overthink things. And so I just try to charge into things, make them what they're going to be. Because that's like another like idea I've been thinking about for a long time, is like, you can never fix an idea. All you can do is have an idea. And then the idea at that point can only be brought to its logical conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either bring it to its conclusion or not do it. But you can't fix it because it's just going to be what it is. You can overthink it. So Night Bat, it's just like, oh, I'm going to do Night Bat. It's going to hit people with bats.
I mean, and how has the response been? I mean, I'm seeing you post constantly, both on Instagram. I follow you on there. I follow you in like I'm friends with you on Facebook, so I see all the posts in the group. How has the response been from the fellow kayfabe group members?
Well, you know, I'm not like totally associated with the kayfabe group. I'm just like I like to look at stuff on there. I'm just, you know, a member. And 93 Grindout. 93 Grindout was by far the most popular comic I've put out next to the Feudal Wrath, my newspaper strip.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 93 Grindout had about the best response one of my books has had. Night Bat, there's only been one issue, so
right.
We'll see.
Okay. And can you talk a little bit about the news strip? Have you I know it's in the newspaper, right? You said, but are you ever planning to collect it in print if people want to buy it?
They wouldn't make any sense collected.
Okay.
I do for like the last 4 years. I've done a strip for Little Village in Iowa City, which is the arts paper. So it's the bi-weekly arts paper. And I've done a strip in every issue for 4 years now. Last year it won an award.
Dope.
Won the Association of Alternative News Media's Cartoon of the Year. But yeah, it's just I just do this strip and it's that shape.
All right.
It's whatever I want to do. Once every 2 weeks.
All right. And then Mangler Brew, is that going to be another series, or is that I mean, I know it spins out of Voyage into Misery.
Yeah, Mangler Brew was a backup in the first run of the issues of Voyage into Misery. So when it was an anthology, that was Human Coil was the A story, Mangler Brute was the B story, and then I did some backups as well. And so the Mangler Brute issue, we decided to decouple everything because it was getting really confusing coordinating the schedules.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everything's decoupled now. Mangler Brute's its own thing. Voyage into Misery is just the Human Coil stories, and there's like a whole bunch of backup stuff that's just floating in the ether. But Mangler Brute, yeah, it's all the Mangler Brute shorts, and that's a collab with Jim Campbell. He's like a long time like comic colorist. He's in the band Paper Fleet, and he does the Over the Garden Wall comics.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that you should check that show out with your kid.
Okay.
It's like there's a Cartoon Network show called Over the Garden Wall. It's great.
Yeah, that's why I recognize. Okay, yeah, I'm picturing the cover of the comic from the shop right now because they have
with the kid with the pointy hat.
Right. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check that out. With all these projects, you know what I mean? Like so many different books you got coming out, so many books available. When can we expect the next one? What are you currently working on right now?
I'm currently working on Night Bat 2.
Okay.
So I'll have Night Bat 2 done hopefully by the end of April. And it'll just come out monthly.
Awesome, dude. And before I let you go, I was wondering if you could, where can everybody find all your work? Where can we find you on social media? I'm going to drop all those links down below.
Yeah, you can find me on where you can order the zines, and everything's as cheap as I can make it, and I put everything in just like manila envelopes and try to make it, you know, as easy to get as it can possibly be. SamuelLockeWard.bandcamp.com. Okay. And you can get all my records and zines there. And and then I'm on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all those things.
Is it just at Sam Locke Ward for both of those as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm fairly Googleable.
Okay.
Googleable.
Yeah. That's a word. Yeah, that's a word. All right, cool, man. Well, thank you for taking time out, dude. It's been fun. I love all your work. I hope everybody that has watched this or listened to this, you follow the link down below, pick some of this awesome stuff up for yourself. And Sam, keep doing what you do, man. I'm loving all of it.
Thanks
All
for your
right, man.
time.
Yeah, have a good one.
Yeah, have a good one.